Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Springfield Township Trustees meeting. It is September 11th, 2018 at approximately 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, could we please have the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Burning?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
Mr. Harnelaw?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
And next, I would ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It was on this day, not too many years ago, our nation was under attack, and this past week, we've had the citizens of Cincinnati under attack with the tragic shooting on Fountain Square, and I would like for all of you to join me in a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Next, moving on with our meeting this evening, we have approval of minutes from a regular meeting held on August 14th, 2018, and a special meeting held September 7th, 2018. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as drafted?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, Mr. Burning, can we have your financial report?
Yes, Mr. Harnelaw. For the month ending July 31st, 2018, the township expenditures were $1,442,127.56, and receipts were $634,122.66. The ending cash balance of $18,665,627.89 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvements, projects, and investments. I ask for a motion to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updating current revenue and reports for the period ending July 31st, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Well, wait a second.
Yeah,
I have different numbers.
I know, I have the wrong numbers here.
Are you looking at last month, Dan?
Yeah, I was looking at last month's. Here's the eight, because I even said last month. All right, let's try this again. I love computers. All right, for the month ending August 31st, 2018, township expenditures were $2,010,764.16, and receipts were $7,194,235.17. That gave us a cash ending balance of $23,849,098.90. That includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. Now I request a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, update, and current revenue and reports for the period ending 8/31/2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And I just want everyone to know the financial reports are available daily during regular business hours in the administration offices or on our website every day. That's all I have, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, moving on to departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Gilbert, do you have a report for us?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Hunterlaw. This evening, we have a few action items. The first being our Grove Event Center and Community Arts Center manager, Tom Schneider, has requested that we look to revise and change the 2019 beverage rates for rentals at the Grove Banquet Center. And those are outlined in a memo that he had sent to the board, you can see there that he's changing the price from approximately $1 for various items. And unless the board has any questions regarding that request, I would ask for a motion to approve the revised beverage rates for the Grove Banquet Center for 2019.
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
The next item we have is, as part of the required process for our road improvement project process and assessment processes, we have 7 projects going on this fall that should be done by the end of November. And as a result of those assessment processes, we are required to have what's known as an equalization hearing, just so we can notify those individuals what the assessment will be, and it gives them an opportunity to question and/or express any concerns they would have over the fairness or the amount of the assessment. Not necessarily that the project goes forward, that's already been determined, but this simply allows those individuals being assessed to ask questions or express any concerns regarding the assessment amount. And speaking to the board, looks like the date that worked best for everyone to have those hearings was November 19th at 5:30. And we would have those 7 different public hearings for the 7 projects in sequential order that evening, starting at 5:30. So if that still works for the board, I would ask for a motion to set the date and time for the equalization hearings for our road improvement projects for November 19th at 5:30.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item we have is, and Joe and Gwen and Mark, please jump in here if you would like, but we had a recent meeting with the Hamilton County Township Association regarding the proposed rate increase that the city and the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks is looking to impose upon all the residents of the unincorporated areas, essentially the townships in the county, amounting to about 18% increase over current water rates.
0.18, but it's not 18%, but about 11%.
About 11%. And as a result of that, obviously there's been a lot of stuff happening. The county filed a lawsuit against the city and Waterworks and received a temporary injunction. There's a hearing actually tomorrow on this matter. The township actually passed a resolution, and our law director, Ms. Abrams, did a great job filing yesterday a motion to intervene in that lawsuit on behalf of the township and advocating for township residents in that lawsuit to prevent those water rates from going through. And in order to look for other viable options, Hamilton County Township Association has asked various townships to appoint the township administrator and a representative of the elected body, the Board of Trustees, to a Hamilton County Water Task Force in order to look at possible other options than contracting with Greater Cincinnati Waterworks. So as a result, I think in discussions it would look like the pleasure of the board was to appoint, obviously, myself as township administrator and Mr. Joe Hunterlaw representing the Township Board of Trustees to the Hamilton County Water Task Force. And if that's still the case, I would ask for a motion relative to that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we know how
Motion
many folks
carries.
are going to be on that task force?
Well, obviously, there's
We know 2 for sure.
11 townships in the county, so there will at least be 11 people. I don't know that every township has an administrator. I'm not sure that Crosby and Whitewater do.
Sims doesn't either.
Sims does.
They do now.
I think it's worthwhile saying a few things about this issue, though, just so that everybody here understands. There's been and we had a long presentation from Dave Rager, one of the former directors of the Cincinnati Waterworks, this past week back here at the Grove. We hosted a meeting for all the township trustees and administrators here in Hamilton County, and we had one of the commissioners there, and a number of people spoke about the current state of our water contract. Under Ohio law, the Hamilton County Commissioners have responsibility to contract for water for the unincorporated areas of Hamilton County. That would be the townships. And there was a contract that was in place And there was litigation, Laura, I believe it was back in the 1980s,
Yes.
concerning what was the rate going to be for townships as opposed to the city. And it was agreed at the time that the townships was going to pay basically 125% of the 1.25 of the city rate, an added amount. At a later point in time, when the federal government realized they had polluted all the property out around Fernald, with uranium pollution, they decided that they had to extend the water system out there to cover that part of the township, and there was an increase that was put on our water rate of, I think, 0.08 was added to that 0.125, and there was a settlement that was reached in the court case. In part of that settlement, the city and the county entered into an agreement, and they said that when this agreement was going to expire in 30 years, there was going to be a task force convened, and the purpose of the task force was to set the new rate, and it was to be based on the fair cost to distribute water, to provide water to the townships. Our problem is they started the task force, the city didn't want to participate in it, they stonewalled it, basically wouldn't show up at the meetings, wouldn't present information on what their true costs were to supply water, and so the whole process broke down, and then unilaterally the city said, townships, we're raising your rate to 1.51, without ever having the task force, without presenting what their true costs were to supply water to us, and without letting the task force complete their work. And so we think that they've breached their duty of good faith under that contract to deal with the townships, and for that reason, we lobbied the Hamilton County Commissioners to file a lawsuit to stop them from doing that. Judge Ruhlman has granted a temporary restraining order a week ago. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow in his court on a preliminary and permanent injunction. Laura, on behalf of Springfield Township, we've intervened in the case. As a home rule township, we have options that some townships that are not home rule don't have. We're going to look into the possibility of exploring, could we get water from other sources? Could it be the city of Fairfield? Could it be city of Hamilton? It could be a number of different things. We're going to have to look at that as we go forward. And we're concerned, though, that if things stay as they are, I think the city thinks they have no contract with us and they can set the rate at whatever they want to set it. And we find that very problematic. There is some state legislation. This issue of water and being supplied to townships is a big issue all over Ohio. There's some legislation that's pending in the Ohio legislature right now, and to try and equalize the playing field when it comes to cities being able to kind of strong-arm townships into annexation and different things in order for people living in townships to get water. So this is an important issue, very important for everybody in Springfield Township. And as a board of trustees, we decided we cannot sit back and just let the city roll over everybody. We need to go to court and see what we can do to get a fair agreement with them.
Well,
So
Joe,
that's kind of
isn't it also that the cities and villages aren't being charged this, it's just the townships?
Just the
that's
township.
the other
Just the
unfair
townships,
part
yes.
is the city has entered into a deal with all the other smaller cities and villages in Hamilton County to continue to supply them for 1.25%, but for us, they're going to jack it up.
And that's probably because the townships make up 40% of the water usage. That was my understanding.
Well, I don't think there is a justification for them
No.
doing it. For example, the waterworks is going to supply water to the city of Springdale through pipes that go through Springfield Township, and they're going to give them the low rate, but for us, they say, oh, no, we got to raise your rate to, 1.53, and that makes no sense to me. So, it doesn't. And so for that reason, we're opposing this. We'll have to see how the judge rules. I intend to be down in court tomorrow. I know Laura's going to be there, and we'll be representing the township.
And I think the critical thing is the restoration of that task force, because why did they not even allow the task force to become a viable task force, rather than blocking it, is what it appeared to be.
Well, we think the answer is the city knew that the actual evidence was going to show that they could supply the water for cheaper than 1.25, and they don't want to do that. They just wanted to get rid of the task force, back out of the agreement they made 30 years ago, and set the rate at whatever they want to set it at.
And they never showed any data to the task force or anybody else
No.
showing that it costs more. They basically say there is no data because if there was, we could get it through public records requests and find out that what them claiming it costs more is not true. Clearly, it's not true because it has to go through Springfield Township to get to Springdale and a lot of other townships around the county. So basically, they're trying to say, we're going to do this, and the House Bill 602 that's in front of the legislature came about because of what was going on in Columbus, a similar thing, but the problem with that is they'll lose 20% of their local government funds if they do this, but they'll make more money, so they may or may not care. So that's why we've gone to court and gotten a judge involved in addition to what the legislature's trying to stop. So we're coming at it from whatever angles we can to stop this from happening. But our other fear is if they raise it 0.18 on townships and, who knows how long, we don't have a contract, so there's no guarantee that it would even stay that. If they find out they can get away with this, they can continue to raise it on unincorporated areas like townships. So it's a real important issue that has kind of got flown under the radar, except obviously, we've been made aware, and that's why we had a meeting with all the township trustees last Wednesday at the Grove to talk about what our options are, and that's what we're going forward with, whatever our options are.
And my understanding, again, is restoration of this task force so that the task force could be objective and review the information and then make a recommendation as to what they feel is the best next step, and not try to get hung up in the numbers regarding why they're going to increase it if you don't have the evidence and justification to increase the charges. So what is that all about? So the task force hopefully will be restored so that there can be some honest and open discussions regarding that whole issue.
The only reason is because they think they can get away with it.
Well, yes.
The bad, and the doubly bad thing about this is we're all seeing our water and sewage bills, go up. They've now, they went from 3-month billing to every month because I think people were getting sticker shock when they get these 3-month bills. And it's because of the sewer rates, with the consent decree and everything that's going on in Hamilton County, the sewer rates and the MSD issues, raising our rates through the roof, and then for them to put water on top of it makes it doubly bad.
Well, I go
Anyway.
into sticker shock every time I get my monthly bill because I do it times 3 or 4, and I'm like,
Yep.
it still comes out high.
In that regard, and you briefly mentioned House Bill 602, which obviously doesn't necessarily affect what's going on here in Hamilton County, but more in the northern parts of the state. Nonetheless, I think it's important enough that the board has asked me to put this on the agenda so that we can express our support for the piece of legislation that will help prevent cities from taking advantage of the unincorporated areas and other parts of the state relative to waterways as well, and hopefully, parts of that legislation may eventually affect and help us here in Hamilton County too. So in that regard, I would ask a motion to authorize the township administrator to send letters of support for House Bill 602 to our area state representatives and senators.
So moved.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under discussion items, first, National Preparedness Month, I believe is this month, and so in that respect, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Leininger to tell us exactly what National Preparedness Month is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. It is National Preparedness Month, meaning that it is across the country, but specifically we want to identify it here locally and ask everybody to take a few minutes out of their time and really prepare for the what if. And I call this the what if game. What if your electric goes off? What if your sump pump doesn't work and the water starts coming up in your basement? What if there's a lot of rain that we just had this past weekend and your tributaries start rising? And then the what if can go on. And don't forget that October is also Fire Prevention Month, so this is a good opportunity to plan and discuss fire prevention and the plan to exit out of your home in the event there is an emergency. So what we encourage everybody is to take time and discuss and develop a plan of action for the what if. And also we've partnered with the Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency, and they have brought to Hamilton County and to its residents a software app that's called Hamilton County Alert, and it's intended for you to be able to go online and sign up for this alert, and if there's various warnings in the area, you will be alerted. It also gives you an opportunity to provide personal data into this software program, and if in the fact you have to call 911, that information is already uploaded into to the dispatcher when you call. We will have this on our homepage, but if you want to sign up for the alerts, it's sign up at www.alerthc.org. That's alerthamiltoncounty.org, and I encourage all of you to take the time to check out their website and to sign up.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
I'd like to ask you a question, Chief, and both our chiefs can answer this if you choose. In light of what happened last week, and it also reflects preparedness, and I was amazed at all of the systems and communities that were involved in responding to the tragedy in Cincinnati. So were we involved in any of, as a system or, with all of those situations that were occurring? And if so, how were we involved and what did we do? What part did we play?
Well, I can talk. There's a mass casualty plan. We're just talking about planning in Hamilton County. It's called the MCI plan. It is a very comprehensive plan, and it's intended to bring resources to the incident, such as police, fire, EMS, and it's also designed to notify hospitals that there could be a mass casualty event where there could be an increased numbers going to the emergency rooms. So there has to be a plan for that. It is a documented plan. It also involves the Hamilton County Communication Center as well as the Cincinnati Communication Center. We have two in Hamilton County. There is some redundancy built into their communications, but more importantly, they work together. In this particular case downtown, the city quickly realized that they need resources from all the departments in Hamilton County. They didn't realize how many victims they would have, so they activated the MCI. So with that, it started at the City Dispatch Center. It then went to the Hamilton County Dispatch Center. Then almost every fire department in Hamilton County that provides EMS sent an ambulance to the Union Terminal. That was our staging area. Now, we didn't know whether or not we were going to be needed. They didn't know the amount of victims that they were going to have, but they were proactive. They were thinking that what if? What if we have multiple victims? Just a couple ambulances in Cincinnati can't handle it. So they may have needed as many as 50 ambulances to handle the injured. So they had those dispatched. We were on the road heading downtown within probably 5 minutes of the incident itself, or from the dispatch of the police officers responding to the incident. So all of this was going on simultaneously to their emergency response to the incident. There are a lot of activities that were going on, if we call it behind the scenes. Hospital notifications, they were calling their personnel and their task forces and their internal protocols to gear up for additional patients coming through the door in their ER. The dispatch centers were doing their protocols to prepare for additional calls and so on to handle it. You're the police, and Chief Browder comment on the police, but everybody in Hamilton County, in one way or the other, at least the emergency services, were affected in some way. So we did respond in an ambulance. We provided an ambulance. Fortunately, it wasn't needed. But it's important to know that we do plan ahead. It's a comprehensive plan, and whether it's a severe weather event, whether it's a Coleraine a couple years ago had that large incident up on 275 when they had the snow, and it could be a multiple car, truck accident on a highway, it could be a large fire, it could be earthquake, it could be anything that goes beyond the capabilities of a local jurisdiction. And that is a comprehensive mass casualty plan that we have in Hamilton County. And we're very fortunate to have the leaders, not only politically, but professionally in those positions that allow us to collaborate and work together on that.
And just from a law enforcement perspective, I immediately reached out to Chief Isaac with the Cincinnati Police Department. He's both a friend and a colleague of mine, and offered anything that we could do here in Springfield Township, as well as being the president of the County Chiefs Association, anything that any of us may have to offer. For instance, the Fifth Third building, very large building, each and every room was cleared by their SWAT team, which is an amazing feat that didn't take weeks to actually clear that. So we offered any tactical services that we could. And then again with the fire chief's what-if plan, we're mainly, I think, talking about natural disasters here, but does our businesses and our schools, obviously we work relentlessly with them on active shooter drills, but also we've gone out to a lot of our churches lately too to offer plans, in the event that we have something like that. So it goes beyond the mind can imagine for your what-if plans, but we both work actively to prevent things from happening here. So
I think when you look at, and as I was listening to all the logistical aspects of that whole process, it's amazing how quickly everyone responded and was able to save any additional lives. And I can't help but, with a healthcare background, when they interviewed one of the emergency ER doctors, and he stated that the work that the EMS and the police did for the individuals coming there and the victims, a lot of the work was done in the ambulance before it got to the hospital, the individuals, and so they were able to arrive with individuals in less traumatic shape, than before.
Well, and actually, even prior to the ambulances, we in law enforcement, I know we do it here. We train our police officers with emergency medical aid, and a lot of those officers that had just been involved in a deadly shooting were immediately switched to administering aid to a number of these victims. So, again, I think that's been a great program that we've done here, and that's exactly why you do these things.
We were so proud of our police and our fire department and everyone that participated, because it was evident that you weren't running away, you were running toward a system and trying to provide a safe and secure system. And I just commend anyone that's watching, all of our police and fire department, and all the staff, all the participants that helped secure that situation so that more individuals didn't become victims. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Gwen.
Next, we have our personnel update, looking at fairly light this month, but we did have one promotion from a part-time employee to a full-time employee. Mr. Jeremy Burns in the fire department was promoted to a full-time medic firefighter. Date of promotion was September 2nd, 2018. we had the resignation of 4 part-time firefighter EMTs and 1 medic firefighter. Marcus Carey, part-time EMT firefighter, resignation date of August 17th. Andrew Thyking, part-time EMT firefighter, August 17th. Gretchen Santiago, part-time medic firefighter, date of resignation August 20th. And Nick Plackey, part-time EMT firefighter, date of resignation August 29th. Looking at the Public Works Department, we did have 4 summer help laborers in their ride with us this summer. Looks like Dallas Schaefer was done on August 3rd, Brian Hartman, August 3rd, Kirsten Goldick, August 15th, and Zach Teague, August 15th. And that concludes the personnel update. Now I'll turn it over to Kim to keep us up to date on community events and programs.
Thank you. On September the 28th, the last Friday of September, we have our final Arts Connect Cafe lunchtime concert. On October the 12th, we are bringing Kamikaze Fireflies to the Finneytown Performing Arts Center for a bigger stage show. That'll be at 7:30 p.m. The following day, on October the 13th, West College Hill is having their Rock the Block event, which is a very, very large event. We're expecting 300 to 400 volunteers doing some really amazing work over there with restoration of the exterior of 15 homes, adding in a basketball court, doing some park improvements, and other really neat programs over there. There is a need for volunteers, and there is a registration with the Habitat for Humanity website. On October the 26th, we're starting our Playhouse in the Park series. I'm bringing in Jungle Book, and on October the 30th, which there's a typo on your sheet, I have the 23rd, it is the 30th, we're doing the mural dedication over at Public Bowl.
Thank you. A lot of
Thank you.
A
excitement.
lot going on.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Last thing before we move on, just wanted to, under discussion, just wanted to explain that there are 6, oh, my screen's going crazy here.
I was going to mention that. I didn't want anybody to think I had become a broken record. You're talking about the resolutions.
Yeah, there are 6 resolutions on here to basically initiate skip applications for 6 different neighborhoods in Springfield Township. And just for the public's edification, the skip process is a county-wide, very competitive grant process for us to obtain dollars to provide road reconstruction and resurfacing projects. Generally, you get 2 for 1 on your money. We've been very successful under the grantsmanship of Mike Gould, and I expect that this year next year we will be equally as successful given the increased amount of money that's in the pot. However, we probably will get 2 or 3 of these projects, although we apply for more just to throw our hat in the ring and then additionally see how these projects score for future applications. But those 6 projects will be Brentwood Heights, Ridgevale, Compton Park, Brentwood, Hollydale, and Kemper Mill Village. And, I wish Mike luck, and he always does a fantastic job with these applications. And even though it is very competitive, we've been extremely successful in getting 2 for 1 out of our money over the last 3 or 4 years, all thanks to Mike. So I just thought that was bear mentioning because, as Joe indicated, he will be reading resolutions that
Look identical.
but they are for 6 different skip applications and required to do that procedurally by law. So that
Correct.
concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, the skip process has just been critical to us trying to replace and repair our crumbling roads and infrastructure. The cost of completely rehabilitating a road starting over is astronomical, and we just don't have the tax dollars from the one road levy that we have that generates a little less than $500,000 a year. It just doesn't go very far. We've been lucky, and it's really through Mike's hard work and all of our staff to secure millions of dollars of state grants to help with our roads over the years, and that combined with the assessment projects we're doing, we're really trying to get a record number of roads back in good condition in the township. But it's important that we put in for all these we can. Sometimes you have a project you think may not get funded, and it does, and sometimes you have one that you think, certainly we got this one in the bag, we're gonna get this one, and then it doesn't for whatever reason, because we are competing with, all the jurisdictions in Hamilton County. But it's important we do this, and so, Mike, I just want, on behalf of the board, thank you for all your efforts in getting all these applications together. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it.
Joe, this probably illustrates why this process is so important for a community like us, where we have limited dollars that we can dedicate toward road resurfacing. I know there's some individuals here from the Hollydale neighborhood. Looking at the 3 streets in Toulon, Cloverton, and Mary Maid, which are part of this application, just those 3 streets, the estimated cost is $900,000.
And we're fortunate again that you and your staff, Mike, are so detailed, especially Mike. He is so detailed. And when you see all the paper around him and he playing with all these numbers and everything, we are just so fortunate. Your eyes may be cross-eyed, but you still keep your eye on the prize.
To support Mr. Gilbert's information he shared, yeah, the total cost for all 6 applications, if all 6 projects were performed, is $6.2 million. $3.1 million would come in grant, and then the township would be responsible for the other $3.1 million. So,
See what I'm talking about?
yeah. Gives you just an idea of the cost associated with completely rehabilitating a street like that.
But
Thank
the
you,
good news is this year, there was only about a little over $3 million available in the county that includes the city and all the
County
county roads,
township
all
areas.
the townships, villages, whatever, and we got about 30% of that money in 2017. We got over $1 million out of like $3.1 million that was available in the whole county. So that shows you how good a job Mike's done at
Absolutely.
getting skip grants for us.
There are 49 different political jurisdictions in Hamilton County that are eligible for that funding.
And they're all
And
competing.
Springfield Township received a third of it.
Don't be saying this. They're going to say they've had their share. They had their share last year. They're not getting any next year. Yeah. Okay. With that, let's go through the resolutions. First resolution is resolution number 72, 2018, authorizing the sale by auction of junk vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to sections 4513.61 and 4513.62 of the Ohio Revised Code, which are no longer needed for public use, are obsolete, or unfit for use in any township department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have resolution number 73, 2018, authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to Revised Code Section 4513.61 and Revised Code 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have resolution number 74, 2018, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173, and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution number 80, 2012, and Revised Code 505.871. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have resolution number 75, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have resolution number 76, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 77, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution 78, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution 79, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the final skip resolution, Resolution Number 80, 2018, a resolution authorizing Joseph Hunter Law, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 81, 2018, a resolution to amend Resolution Number 63, 2018, declaring dangerous property conditions at 6410 Railroad Avenue, parcel 306, 6410 Railroad Avenue, parcel 307, and 2059 Highland Avenue. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 82, 2018, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 83, 2018, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying the same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 84, 2018, supplemental appropriations within the general fund and the fire district fund and appropriation adjustments within the state law enforcement fines grant A fund. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Well, you got through those, didn't you?
We got through those, and I would on that last, on resolution number 83, 2018, there is a cost to what the township has to do to handle nuisance properties, neglected properties, and right here, the resolution we just passed was for $9,710 of taxpayer money that's going to mow grass, cut down weeds, on these properties. It's a burden to the taxpayers, but something that we have to do to try and keep our property values up. Next, is there any old business before the board?
I have none.
I have none.
Is there any new business this evening?
I have none.
I have none.
I don't either. Next is citizens' participation. Anyone who would like to address the board, we would ask that you come up, state your name and address in the microphone, and I would ask that everyone else remain quiet so we can listen to what the speaker is saying. Is there anyone that would like to address the board this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lavelton Daniel. I reside at 8952 Woodview. I'm the pastor of Greater Emmanuel at 1150 West Galbraith. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be doing this now, but I don't want to miss an opportunity. So I have some information I'd like to hand to you.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
As brief as I can, I'm here to, and I would like to thank Mr. Gold. I think he's spoken with a couple of our members. We are trying to get a portion of Kirkland Avenue at the corner of Galbraith, where our church sits, that first block, a cap placed on it in honor of our retired pastor, Bishop Bowers, who is 88 years old, and this year marks 40 years of our church being in Finneytown. Next month we will be having a great celebration, and the information that you have there just gives an idea of the legacy and the contribution of Bishop Bowers. He is a former public school teacher here in Cincinnati, he and his wife. He has been named Bowers Day in Cincinnati about 4 times, and Mobile, Alabama, and several other cities, not only in the country but also internationally. I have publications to show his contributions where he's honored, and one of the large publications he actually edited a number of years ago. So we're been working on this about a year. I believe I called Ms. McFarland over a year ago, just trying to find. We were told that Springfield Township has never had a street renamed or anything, so we would like to help you make history. Amen. It is certainly done all over Cincinnati. You'll see from the handout. They did one for Bootsy, right, Collins, and others, just a number of them, and all of the people were not demised. Some of them were living, Buddy La Rosa street name. So I'm here today to state that we are so anxiously looking forward to helping with our 40-year history here, to help start a new history of honoring eligible people qualified to have this distinction. And it's just the cap, as I understand it, and it's done in a number of places. It just goes on top of the regular street. Nothing is changed as far as mailing or anything of that nature. It's an honorary thing, and we're only asking for the one block that intersects Galbraith Road. We'd like to name it Paul Bowers, Bishop Paul Bowers Boulevard. Amen. So it won't interfere with anything that is commercial or has to do. This is his biography. It's called The Preaching Machine. And again, if anyone would like to see the publications to view, to see his worthiness, you certainly may peruse these books. That's all. Any questions?
Well, I would say thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, and it looks like there's a very considerable amount of information here. I'd like to have a chance to read this and study this and take this.
I know that we've received similar requests in the past, and while obviously I don't mean to speak for the board, but I think some of the considerations that we've talked about in prior requests in dealing with issues such as this is, while I know that you're asking for us not to technically change the name of the street, some of the concerns, and we've had conversation with other communities where this has happened, where once you put a cap on top, it now confuses individuals. Is it Kirkland Drive? Is it, Bishop Bowers Way? What is it? So there could be some confusion as it relates to individuals trying to get to a certain area. Obviously, from a safety service standpoint, there's concern there that individuals responding to a particular street may see a different name up there and it may confuse it. So whether it be somebody trying to get deliveries that live on Kirkland Drive, maybe not from a postal service standpoint, but UPS or FedEx may look at it and be confused. So those are all conversations we've had in the past regarding these types of requests, and which are some of the reasons as to why they've been denied previously. It creates a lot of confusion, but obviously it's done in other places, and I understand that. However, I think our past practice and policy is that we try and avoid complicating things as much as possible, and putting those on top obviously complicates it. I know we have back here Waxmunski Way for a previous fiscal officer and trustee, John Waxmunski. However, that's not a public street. That's a driveway on a piece of property. So
no one living on it.
Yeah, and it's not a public roadway. It's a driveway. So I don't know. That pretty much sums up the previous conversations we've had regarding these types of requests. But I definitely don't want to speak for the board.
I agree with Joe. I'd like to research this, look into it a little bit longer, because that's always been our guidelines in the past. And maybe we can look at maybe alternatives if maybe there's other options if we can't do Kirkland.
Well, we were told to do the parking lot, and that was almost insulting. Why would I want to put his name on the parking lot or ask you to do that? So that was not very, and then we were told to find an alley. Well, there's no alley around us. So those suggestions from you were not met very favorable, even though I maintain my composure. Praise God. I think that in times, we're talking, I do understand and appreciate everything you've said, but there are situations, I dare say that if he'd gotten shot down in the street, you may be more considerate, because tragedy makes us more pliable. And as I take my seat, I would like to give a praise, because at our church for the last 4 years, we have been praying against tragedies coming to Cincinnati. Ms. McFarland has been a part of one of those. We call it Pray It Forward. And I believe this in my heart. I think if we had not been doing that and we just did it in August, maybe the turnout last week could have been worse. Amen. So we make a great contribution to the city, and so we're asking, and you've been very kind to us with getting our zoning changed after 6 years, bless God. So, but now we're asking for something else to honor a very deserving individual. Amen. So thank you very much.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Has there been any discussion with people on Kirkland, or do you know what the people?
I have. I did talk to some individuals just last week on Kirkland, and the individuals I've spoken to were on the other part of Kirkland, beyond the one block that we're asking for. Of course, they had no problem, but we were willing to do that. We just got really unsure about all of the process over the time. But we are certainly willing to do. There are only 5 houses, but again, it's not a postal thing, as you just said. It is done in other places, in quite a few places, you know.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Daniels.
Who else would like to address the board this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hope I speak loud enough. My name is Tanya Moore Franklin, and we are in charge of a group. We have a Lexington Heights reunion. My parents moved to Lexington Heights in 1966. We're still there. My father's over 80 years old. I've been working closely with Kim. She's been awesome. But this past year, we had an issue where there was a video that was put up. We didn't authorize it, and so there was a problem. I'm sorry, but there was a problem with the park and us getting the key. Every year prior to that, this is our 7th annual event. Every year prior to that, we were able to get the key. We had people who were monitoring the gate so that others couldn't get in. Last year, they had to park on the grass. That's because you guys were renovating the streets. They were not finished by the time we had our event. This year, we were told we could not have a key. We normally use our cars to go get our elders, bring them down. My father's over 80 years old. The average age of our event is 40 to maybe 85, 90. And the fact that we did not have a key, we had one person, he became ill, and we couldn't get anybody down there to help him. We had to help him up to the top of the area, and then he was able to get in his car. We had several people who were in wheelchairs. We couldn't help them down. They had to push them down, and some of them could have fallen. In previous years, we were able to at least have the committee bring their cars in to take care of these particular situations. And I just wonder if is there a reason why we can't have the key for that particular event? For some reason, they thought there was going to be this humongous crowd. Ms. McFarland, you've been there before. It's normally under 100 people, and as I said, it's the people who've lived there previously. Like I said, we moved there in 1966. A lot of people who moved there throughout the 70s. And it's always been a peaceful event. They've never gotten a complaint on us, never, over the 7 years when we've done this. So I just want to know, is there a reason why we can't get the key? Or?
I mean,
Because I didn't think we gave out keys.
and while I understand you had a key previously, frankly, from my position, I'm not sure how that key was accessed or given to you and why you had it to begin with. I think from an administrative side, our policy has always been not to allow access to our public properties with vehicular traffic other than safety services or public works vehicles. Primarily, this from a liability standpoint. As you know, Springfield Township carries property and liability insurance for all of our properties. And as a result of that, we simply cannot allow non-safety service or township personnel to have vehicular access, unsupervised vehicular access into our public parks. It creates a liability issue, and frankly, our insurance company would not be too happy about us doing that. So we do not provide keys any longer. I'm not sure how it happened to begin with, but we do not provide keys to any individuals for any of our public parks, not just Lexington Heights, but any public park in Springfield Township.
And maybe I misrepresented the full effect of what we do. They normally open the gate, and we are free, and we normally put a lock on the gate so that traffic is not flowing in there. But they normally unlock the gate. We make sure nobody comes in. Our seniors are able to come in, because as I said, most of them are 75 to 80 years old, and it's pretty high.
I know in
down
this
there.
situation, obviously, we had our police department unlock the gate, allow you to use your vehicles, supervised by the police department to go drop your stuff off, come back, they shut the gate behind you, and we came back at the end of the event when the park closes at dark, opened the gate again, allowed you to get your stuff and leave again and close it. So we're willing to do that, but to provide a key to allow individuals to use their vehicles through the public park unsupervised by township personnel, no, that is something we can't do, purely from a liability issue.
Well, with emergency situations, what should we do in those cases?
In emergency situations, you call 911 and we will be there we'll get.
So he had a diabetic incident, so we were not able to help him. And I guess by the time the police got there, if we could have just gotten the car down there to help him, to take him up to the particular thing. And then we have DJs who have to set up their equipment. We have a person who has to bring in the grill. We had to wait for the police to come, and then we had to wait at the end for their trucks to be brought down to load up all the equipment. So it was dark by the time.
And while I understand that may be a minor inconvenience, I would say that.
It wasn't minor, it was a big inconvenience.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
it wasn't
obviously,
minor.
can get there as soon as we can. But at the same time, I think the idea that we're going to allow a key to be out there to allow vehicles to access our public property at any point in time probably isn't good policy.
I think the confusion seems to arise because somehow there was you had a key before, because we've never had given anyone a key. It's been years since we've done that.
That's not true. That's not true. The procedure has always been, the person comes in, makes the reservation, sign the sheet, sign the paperwork, they hand them the key. When they complete their detail or whatever they're doing in the park, they lock the gate back and return the key.
That's been some years ago.
No, it has not been some years. All of this just stopped within the past 2 years. Okay?
That's about right.
I've been in the neighborhood ever since
about right.
1969. We have never went through what we're going through now. He's putting a Band-Aid on it. This is definitely an inconvenience. You're locking people in the park and you're locking people out of the park.
We're locking vehicles.
No, you're locking people in and out. As she indicated, there were people in wheelchairs that had to be pushed across a bumpy, rugged field, in and out, when they could have been transported in a car back there and then park the car back on the street. The fact is, there was one that had, as she indicated, the sugar dropped. You know how dangerous that is. They couldn't get anybody in or out. They had to rush this individual to the street to get him in a vehicle to take him to the hospital to get some help. There was another lady. On August the 19th, I gave an event. She, on a walker, had to walk from the street on her walker across this field. Now, you just sat here and told me that you got liability responsibility to that park. Suppose either one of them should fall. Then what does your liability do? Where's the place where your liability, which is more dangerous than to have people there that are supervising the people that come in the vehicle, park decently, and make them leave their vehicle in a safe place? Or is it better to keep the people locked out, and then they got to walk across in a wheelchair, or somebody push them in a wheelchair and they fall? The liability is at risk that way, more so than it is for somebody to drive their vehicle. I ask you this question. How many times have you been sued for a liability issue on that park?
In that particular park or any park?
In that particular park.
I can't say off the top of my head.
None.
But Reverend Brights, it doesn't matter.
Hey, Chris, you keep putting a Band-Aid on it. It's not that simple.
It's not
because you're not there. We are there.
I would say the reason there has not been an incident is because of the policy that we have.
No,
in the
it's
past 2
not.
years.
No, it's not. I've been using the park since 1969. I grew up out here. I give events in there every year.
Reverend Brights, I understand your position.
There has been no problem because we conduct ourselves accordingly.
You have to understand our position. We represent the entire taxpayers.
But then we've got to come up with a different solution.
Can I finish? If we allowed a vehicle to enter that park and it struck a kid that's playing on that park, our insurance company is going to look at that as negligence, won't cover that expense, and there at that point, now the taxpayers of Springfield Township are going to be responsible for that.
What is the purpose of signing the contract?
That's
What
the
is the
issue.
purpose of signing the contract to use the park? The
What-
responsibility is transferred.
What if one of our, senior did almost faint? She was walking up the small incline, and it was very hard for her to get up there. We have people at the gate who do not let people in. We have security guards walking around because we don't want the event to get out of hand. My name is on the event. I definitely don't want it to.
Would it be
get
helpful if we meet you at a certain time and allow those individuals to be transported in?
No, they come all through all
Okay.
through the event.
Okay.
It starts at noon. People start coming around 2, and at about 7 o'clock, we ask, it's time to pack up. We have to go because we have to be out of the park at dusk. So we want to make sure that's taken care of.
This is it. You've heard, this lady, her father's been there for years. He's still there. I know in person. Brad Moore, he's a church member of mine. New Friendship Baptist Church, he's a deacon. He's raised 5 kids. He's got grandkids. He is an elderly individual now. We've got numerous of people that have paid taxes to use that park. We should not have to go to Wentwoods or anywhere else. You talk about liability. Wentwoods is twice as big as Springfield Township. You want to have something over there, they open up the gate, leave you alone. When the day is over with, they come back and they lock the gate. After you're gone.
The difference over there is they have parking lots for cars to go. But let me say this. This is kind of a no-win situation for Springfield Township, for the Board of Trustees. We just had another incident here at another one of our parks where the people, even though there was a barricade up that they couldn't get cars in, somehow got it down, drove a bunch of cars into the property, trashed the property, left a mess, and so it's another, besides the liability, it's another one of the reasons why we try and keep some kind of control over this. And the problem is, we don't know who it is that wants to use these parks. Is it somebody responsible? Is it somebody irresponsible? You just don't know what you're getting
And
into.
unfortunately for you, not everybody takes
Right.
care of it like you do.
We've had great experiences throughout the year.
Right.
And we
Our
normally leave the
problem is
park more
if-
clean than when we got it.
But if our policy is to have a key go out and they bring it back, and like you're talking about, that's the not
Or they could
everybody's
just
as
leave the gate
responsible, not
open,
everybody.
and because we have security guards who are watching the gate.
And I understand that. I'm saying not everybody is gonna do that.
We
And
take
if
responsibility
we-
for what we're doing.
And that's why we have the policy that we have. I'm
But
just
the
explaining to you why the policy is what it
The
is.
policy is in all the parks. It's not just one park, and I want you to remember that. It's not just one park, it's across the board in all of our parks. So,
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Hollow, Mr. Bernie. I don't know where Mike Camp is, but anyway, you got a lawyer sitting there. It's has always been, when you find something in an agreement that's not fitting, you go in there, you modify the agreement, and amend that agreement, amend that law, and then put something else to accommodate. You cannot continue to lock people out of that park and lock people in. It's not healthy. It's a problem.
they're not locked in.
Yes, we are locked out and locked in.
Just vehicles can't get in or
Cars
out.
can't
So it's
get
just
out.
the car.
Well, let me say, it may
The
be,
fact that they're handicapped.
whoa,
Okay, the
no,
fact that they're
sir.
handicapped. Wait till I
No.
get through. Okay, the fact that they're handicapped, then that's the problem. Okay?
Then that is maybe not the appropriate place for that event. It may or may not be handicap accessible.
In our community, why do you
I think-
not want to change the law? Or
It's-
amend the agreement? Why can't you put something within the agreement that makes the person who rents it or uses it responsible?
Because unfortunately, the way the law works, if you guys sign something saying you're responsible and somebody gets hurt and they sue you, they're also going to sue us. Absolutely,
Who they're
every
gonna come
time.
after is gonna be
I'm
us.
just telling you, they're going to sue us
The
also.
contract agreement is binding in the court of law. You guys are gonna sit here and give us every reason why you can't. We ain't asking you for no money. We're asking you to operate an agreement.
What we
You
have.
got to give the people
Mr.
something. You
Bryce.
can't keep taking their money
Mr. Bryce.
and not giving them anything.
Mr. Bryce, please.
That's what
We
you're
have-
doing.
Mr. Bryce, please. We have a policy that
He has
across
no
the board.
reason to summons his officers to come to that park, to open up that park, and shut that park back, unless there's an emergency situation.
Mr. Bryce,
When I first met Michael Hennicamp, he came in the park screaming, hollering, arguing, and wasn't nobody doing nothing, and threatening my son. He
Mr.
did that.
Mr. Bryce, we have implemented a policy. We're always looking at what we can do to maintain safety and security in our total township. So that's the policy across the board in all of our parks. We have not had any, we have not,
You need to change it.
we have,
Okay? You need to amend it. Joe, I leave this to you. You guys need to change that.
thank you,
I hope you do it at this level.
thank you very much.
Because if you don't, we're going to a higher level.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening?
Good evening. My name is Michael McCoy. I live at 8950 Fontainebleau Terrace. Gwen's sign's been in my yard. Joe, your sign has been in my yard before. I know.
What about me?
Not yours, Mark. I know a fire chief and police chief. My daughter Angela works up there as a dispatch agent. I've been in the Finneytown area for well over 25 years. I coached basketball at Finneytown High School. This is my first meeting here, and the reason I'm here tonight is I retired from WCPO-TV after working there for 49 years. Yes, after 49 years, I retired. So, but excuse me the way I'm dressed tonight because I was cutting grass and I was talking to somebody and they were talking about the water rates were getting ready to go up. So this is a good meeting for me to be at to understand what is going on. And I appreciate what the board is trying to do to reduce these rates. You did a great job on the CG&E bill. I still got people knocking on my door trying to get me to switch, but I told them I'm going with the township. So you guys are really doing an excellent job at that. My question is, on the piping that the water goes through in our area is shipped to Springfield, you said. Are we responsible for maintaining that line? Do we own that line? Does the city own or Hamilton County?
That's a great question.
That's the million dollar.
We don't know the answer to that
That's
question.
probably the $1 or $1 billion question.
We don't know, we don't own it, but we don't know if the county owns it or the city owns it, and neither do they.
Or the ratepayers. And so whenever these infrastructure, and so that, when they had this lawsuit back in the 80s, all the parties couldn't agree, but they said it was one of these deals where the judge said, you all get in that room and you hammer out an agreement, and if you don't, you're not going to like what happens when you come back. So they kind of skipped over that issue of who owns what. And so there is no court decision that says exactly who owns all the infrastructure. And different infrastructure was built at different times in different ways, and there were different, is my understanding, different assessments, and you know, it's a complicated, Dave Rager, who ran the Cincinnati Water Works, gave a long presentation, and it's incredibly complicated. That is one of the key issues Like if we were to, as a home rule township, say, we're going to go to one of the adjoining municipalities that has water, and for example, if the city of Fairfield had excess capacity, could we contract with them and run the water through the existing pipes? The one argument is, we're the taxpayers. All our money that's been paid in taxes and into the waterworks over the years went to develop the infrastructure. It should belong to the people. And in fact, he cited a case, this is from the state of Montana, where the government sued to take the water infrastructure over from a private water utility, and they were successful, and they said this becomes public property. On the other hand, if the courts would rule against us and say it all belongs to the city of Cincinnati, the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, well, then we're not going to be able to do that, because we obviously wouldn't be able to afford to put in a new water system for the entire township. So this is some of the things that are on. That's a great question, and that goes right to the heart of where this thing goes. The city of Cincinnati knows that if the unincorporated areas, all the townships left, Cincinnati Waterworks would be crippled. They would be out of business. They have 380,000 people they serve in the townships. It would totally devastate their whole financial plan. So, but at the same token, we're saying we cannot just have you dictate and give us some arbitrary and capricious amount to pay and cut everybody else a better deal. And so that's what the fight's about.
Well, I'm sure that a good question to ask would probably be something like this. If that pipeline going through our district or our area happened to burst, I guarantee you that would be on us. Nobody would want to touch that. So in saying that, we should turn around and say, if we're responsible, we're going to charge a surplus charge for the water going through if we have to maintain it once it bursts. So are you going to take responsibility when it bursts, or are we going to take responsibility? And if they say, well, it's our responsibility, there's our opportunity to put a surcharge on Springdale or either the city.
Yeah.
You know, the knife can cut both ways. So if we're not, we can let you do your thing, but by the same token, if it bursts, you know, let's compromise with this. But that's just another way. You guys know your business better than I do. Like I say, it was just one of these things that I want to make sure, because all of us are financially strapped at this time and age, and, you know, we got to come up with some wonderful ideas. So, but that was just one thing. But I have a real pet peeve since I've retired. It's like, I don't know, the business district, Rumpke trash hits our street at 3:50 a.m. in the morning. And I asked the gentleman, I stayed up one morning, now I'm retired, I asked him, so why are you guys working so early? Well, it's because of the kids need to go to school. It's 3:50 a.m. The kids don't go to school at 7 o'clock. So I'm wondering, is this area located for business at that time of morning at 3:50 a.m. for the trash man to go down Fountain Blue at that time of morning? That seems, it's unbelievable.
The contract is 6, says 6. You know,
we had the same problem with,
Yes, we've had.
with the area where I live.
Yeah.
And some of my neighbors, you know, I'd hear them and I'd be like, you know, there they are, you know, but I get up early, but they would, some of my neighbors came in here and complained, and we went to Rumpke and reminded them that they're not supposed to be doing this before 6 a.m., and they changed it. And so they don't come. Now they come, maybe it might be the middle of the day, you know, they don't come first thing, but.
So
yeah,
what
obviously coming, you know, right after 6 or even closer to 7 would be bad too, because then kids would be prevented from getting down Fountain Blue to school. So maybe the alternative is they come more in the middle of the day when the kids are already in school, everyone's left for work.
With the school there, maybe middle of the day is the time when the kids are all, yeah.
Well, that's a good idea, but, you know, I just think that 3:50 a.m. is kind of ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know,
They're not allowed to come,
They're
they're not allowed
like-
to come before 6 a.m.
Contractually, they're not permitted to do that, and if there's an area where they're doing that, I'll make contact with our representative at Rumpke and ensure that gets changed.
Okay, persist on keep happening, I'll just call the township and leave my name and
Yeah, I
phone
tell you what, my
number
card is in the back.
and just let them know, what's going on, because
Yeah.
I think that is really kind of ridiculous.
Please do. If you could let me know if they continue to do it. Give me a week or so to try and work it out.
Okay.
Obviously, they're going to have to work it on their end from when their route supervisors start their people and everything. So go ahead and take my card and just kind of keep me up to date what's going on.
And I don't want to
I'll give them
sound
a call
selfish or
tomorrow.
anything like that,
No,
it's
that's
one of
exactly
those-
why we put it in the contract.
Right, it's one of those things like, when you see something happen, you gotta say something. It's getting
Yeah.
to the point where people don't want to open their mouths, and I'm not one that's gonna go for it. It's one of those things, you see something that's wrong, say something about it.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to that person, there's ways of handling things. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that.
Yeah.
And one other thing is, Fountain Blue is one of the roads that is used almost as much as Winton Road is used, okay? And I know the township is strapped for cash, but if there's any way that Fountain Blue can be redone or something, it's just a mess.
We want to, but we're kind of waiting to see what happens with the school district. We don't want to repave that street and then have them have a lot of construction traffic on there when they're building new schools.
Okay.
So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now to put that on the schedule, mainly because we want to see what happens with Finneytown and them building new buildings. The last thing we'd want to do is repave Fountain Blue and then have a bunch of construction traffic going down at the building new school.
And
Okay.
tear it all up, yeah.
Right.
So do we have any idea, was it gonna be in a year or two, or is it still on hold?
What?
As far as what the
School boards.
We're not going to, they're on the ballot in November of 2019. We're not going to know anything until then.
Okay, I just wanted to, at least you have a time frame.
Okay, great.
For about 14 months, we should have a better idea what the school board's going to do.
Okay, great. And last but not least, and this is directed at both of the chiefs, when was the last time that you guys actually did a active shooter drill at a mall, Brentwood, something like that? Because the way things are going now, we did an enactment on our job where, a guy came through as active shooter, and we actually did a drill. So my question is, when the last time have you guys performed an active drill shooting? Because fire and police have to work together when it's an active shooter thing, if something like that jumped off at Kroger. So my question is, when was the last time?
Well, you'd have to define specifically active shooter drill. We work, every year we look at our safety plans with schools, with businesses, with churches. We actually just trained another, I think, 12 firefighters just this past summer with what everything's gonna look like in an active shooter. We have done a number of these. You have to understand how hard it is to do a very full-scale one, because you would, in essence, have to shut down the entire Brentwood shopping center to do one at a shopping center. But we do have, plans in place, and we do them on a much smaller scale. But when you start involving the general public and people that are trying to shop, and you have to close down the businesses or the other locations to do that, it gets a little complicated. But that's one thing that we look at each year, I know collectively as the township, as well as our entire safety plans. So that kind of answer, but that's something that's at the top of our minds all day, every day.
Yeah, great. And once again, I want to thank the Board of Trustees for taking the time out to listen to me, and you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
There was a petition sent in 2 years ago about having the park renovated, and there was some talk about doing a grant. Can somebody fill me in as to where that is right now today?
We applied for that grant for additional playground equipment and things in Lexington Heights Park, and the county did not approve that grant application. So we will reapply when the opportunity presents itself. But we did apply, and the county did not approve that grant.
Okay, when was it turned down? Do you know?
Been a while ago, hadn't it?
Yeah, January, February, something like that.
I spoke with you in January, and you said that you had not heard from them
that particular day he spoke to me, obviously, I must not have. But it was sometime in late January, early February, I think, when we heard from the county.
Chris, can you just look up that date and then get back with Mr. Bryce, please?
Yeah, obviously, I wouldn't have told him something that wasn't true on the phone, so.
Right.
All right, Mr. Hennicamp, where is he?
He retired.
So Chris took Hennicamp's place?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Your lucky day, Mr. Bryce.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, this was my first meeting of this sort that has been very educational. When you were doing your litany,
Yes.
felt like putting some music to it that could have made a song. Yes, pass, yes, go, yellow. There may be some area of compromise. Our church also used Lexington Park, and we were recipients of a key at one time. And, of course, we had young people walk all the way from Meredith Drive after we were there that Sunday, all the way to Gallup, come to church. They said that they were pressured because they didn't want to do what other kids were doing. So they would just come to the park, you understand. And in other situations like this, off-duty officers and things, why couldn't they monitor the park during the time a little bit to keep it open? Or maybe there could be some type of reduced rate or something could be worked out, I would think, that could be for everyone concerned. It's not just open and shut deal. We have people, I think, who would want to do that, to endear the community, and there just has to be another solution, because it was very beneficial for us. We had members in wheelchairs, and you see them all over the offshore. So why can't we come up with another solution of ways to have someone in authority, be there to help these things, because they are public places, and with all the activities going on, we have an active shooting program in our church where people who can help and work to do that. With all these things going on, if we keep backing up, then we don't have the freedom that my father fought and was wounded for in wars and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just not a matter of our priority in our townships. It's greater than that, because the people here are the ones who cause the township to be what it is, and we must work together to make it feasible for all of us. I wish I had time to come to the board meetings. I got so many sermons.
Thank you.
I'm just good to preach about the
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you.
There's no.
And I heard him say that they sued me as well.
But if the event, if there's something happens with the event organizers, then you would be responsible.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
that
vouching for the people who.
That actually happened at the park in Seven Hills, Frost Park. We had an incident where a group organized an event. They allowed kids unsupervised to swing golf clubs. Some kids walked behind the individual swinging the golf club, was struck in the face, had to have surgery in his jaw. The township did get threatened with a lawsuit, and so did the individuals organizing the event.
But as I said, our average age is 45 to 85. So.
Yeah. Look, I think to the board's credit, they're obviously, they've been up here trying to figure out a solution to this. I'm willing to sit down with you and Mr. Bryce and figure out a solution. Absent, give it.
When?
Just
Calm down.
Okay. I'm offering them.
Well, wait a minute. She's speaking. Yeah.
This is
Mr. Bryce, let her. Yeah.
Mr. Bryce and I have this sort of relation. We do this a lot, but at the end of the day, we're willing to sit down and try and find a solution. Absent just handing out a key and allowing free access, there's got to be something in between there that we could try and figure out. And I'm willing to have the conversation. I think the board is asking that staff have that conversation to see if we can come up with a solution, absent exactly what you're asking for, but we may figure out something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The other scenario is open the vault and leave it open till the people approve. That's a consideration, that's a compromise to the key part.
That'll be a bullet point we'll talk about in our conversation.
I'm looking for the call or the email.
Okay.
Soon.
Thank you, everyone. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening? Anybody else? I think we're, okay, no? Okay, we're good, okay. All right, it appears there's no one else that wants to address the board. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.